welcome back. This is Christopher Moldong, and I am an author specializing in the fantasy genre. Today, I will be reviewing Rave Master volumes 26 through 30. In the last volume, Belnica was going to stop some intruders on the Albatross, only to find out that Haru was one of those intruders. But before I get into anything, you can check out my author's website at www.chrismordon.com. You can also buy some of my works, starting with my first novel, an action adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom for $4.99 on my author's website at www.chrismordon.com on PDF format, or if you have an e-reader such as a Kindle, you can buy it on Amazon.com for $4.99. Also, for just $1.99, you can buy some of my short stories and short story collections, starting with the fantasy horror short story, The Land of the Wooden Statues, which I'm currently trying to make into a full novel. My horror collection, which is a compilation of 3 of my gothic horror short stories, and my fantasy fable collection, which is a compilation of 4 of my fantasy fable short stories. A lot of my works are inspired by anime and manga, so yeah, please check them out. With these reviews, they will have spoilers. I'll start with recapping the events in the manga, and then I'll give my own thoughts on everything that's happened. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and like my author's page on Facebook. Links to all these will be provided on the description. So, let's get started. Volume 26 starts with Belnica attacking Haru, but he can't fight her because she helped heal him, and she eventually stops fighting him. Julia gets they fight, and she gets from one of the soldiers that they want to bring Endless to the Mystic Realm to destroy him using Ethereum without destroying their own world. One of the 6 guard Leopard fights and defeats a weakened Julia. She's the girl she's a cat girl pretty much. Then the Albatross enters the Mystic Realm. Belnica confronts Hardner, of the leader of the Blue Guardians, and he reveals that he was never looking for peace, even though Belnica was told by Lady Lunar that that was Hardner's goal. Hardner shows that they have Jellybone pinned to a cross and blackmails Belnica to do his bidding or else he'll kill him. They then enter the Altar of Birth in the Mystic Realm. As this happens, Yuma breaks into the Albatross and fights Hardner. Yuma slices one of Hardner's arms off, but it grows back, and then Hardner shoots Yuma in the head. Julia, who's pretty much defeated, like unconscious or whatever, she's on the ground, but Let finds her as this is all happening. And then Nagisa and Ellie fight Leopard. Using Ethereum, Ellie defeats Leopard using Ethereum. She can kind of shoot like Ethereum balls at people, and not like some big Ethereum that's gonna like destroy the world. So as this is happening, Hardner says that he has to be at the summit of the altar of birth. So they reach the summit, him and Belnica, and at the summit, Belnica fights Hardner. Hardner's able to control and resurrect things, so he controls this giant tree and imprisons Belnica in it. And then Haru manages to reach the summit of the Altar of Birth, and then Hardner tells him that his goal is to forget everything. So, obviously there's a little more to Hardner than meets the eye. Haru tells Belnica to break the time-space staff with Ethereum, but she reveals that she does not have the power of Ethereum, actually. Um, because throughout this whole time, they're saying that there's two people who can use Ethereum, Ellie and Belnica, but apparently Belnica cannot use Ethereum. Harner then reveals to Haru what his Darkbring is. It's one of the Mother Darkbrings. It's called Resurrection. So it looks like he can resurrect that tree. He can resurrect his own arm. And it pretty much makes him immortal. Harner then recovers something in the Altar of Birth called the Leben Ring, which is part of the Altar of Birth. With it, he plans to become one with Endless. He also tells them that the purpose of the Altar of Birth is used to fuse things. So, Harner controls the roots of this giant tree, and he hits Haru, Belnica, and Plu, and pretty much at the end of the volume, the three of them fall off the Altar of Birth. So in volume 27, Belnica and Plu land safely on the ground. Belnica is able to heal, so it's suggested that Belnica has a different type of magic from Ellie. Belnica and Plu then rescue Haru from a river that he fell into. As this is happening back in the Albatross, Giraffe kills Leopard, seeing that she lost to Ellie. Giraffe kills her, even though they're supposed to be friends. A tribe from the Mystic Realm, the Green Race, imprisons Haru, Belnica, and Plu on the Mystic Realm. Back on the Albatross, just things are happening back and forth, so back on the Albatross, Nagisa, Ellie, Musica, Lazenby, Julius, and Ruby are all reunited. And then Giraffe he has this power of twisting, so he uses that to separate the group, leaving him with Ellie and Musica. Musica fights Giraffe and defeats him. The rest of the group then reach the hangar of the Albatross, but find all of the ships melted. Then the leader of Sixth Guard, Lucan, attacks all of them, and Julius freezes him, but he has a power of melting, and he can. So it's if you touch him, you'll melt. So it's even if you attack him, you'll apparently melt. That's his thing. They find Let and Julia, and they both actually force them to ride away on a dragon, because it seems like they're going to do their own thing while they allow the others to escape. Let goes off to fight Harner, and Julia stays behind to fight Lucan. Lucan can also turn his body into acid, so she actually, gets on his back and chokes him. They fall to their death, they fall to their death off the Albatross. He becomes acid, but the way physics works or whatever, it pretty much defeats him. He's a liquid falling at terminal velocity, so that pretty much kills him. So Julie ends up defeating Lucan. And while this is happening, Let fights Harner and gets the better of him for a while, but Harner keeps regenerating. Harner then uses a technique called Ultimate Pain and almost defeats Let, but then Let sees that Julia was saved by a dragon, and from that knows that she defeated Lucan. So Let actually gets back up and continues to fight Harner. As this is happening, Lady Lunar tries to capture Ellie, and also Haru with his bare hands breaks out of the prison of the Green Race. You don't actually see it, but apparently Lady Lunar defeats Julius and the other members of the team and brings Ellie to Harner. Then a dragon brings Harner to the top of the Altar of Birth to fight Harner. And at the end of the volume, Endless appears in the Mystic Realm. So in volume 28, in volume 28, Endless attacks the Mystic Realm. Megiddo and Burial decide to head to the human world as this is all happening. Ellie uses Ethereum to temporarily stop Endless. And then Harner tries to fuse with Endless, but Haru stops him. Haru and Harner then fight each other. And then Ellie uses the time space staff to get rid of Endless, but it doesn't completely get rid of it. Harner then uses Ultimate Pain on Haru, but it hardly even does anything to him. He's just kind of like, ow, that hurt. That's all it did to him. Then Haru keeps attacking Harner, and his Resurrection Dark Ring works more slowly. Revealing that even these Ultimate Dark Ring have limits. Same with his Rave, actually. After that, Haru eventually defeats Harner, and Ellie and Belnica both use their power with the time space staff to get rid of Endless. Harner then reveals like his big tragic past, which is that he wanted to fuse with Endless to forget something. Apparently, in Harner's past, Harner lost his wife and daughter when the Liberal Familia unexpectedly crashed. That's the ship that like Yuma, Nagisa, and that those freedom fighters now use as their home base. Yuma, he actually turns out to be alive because he has this like special bandana that can block bullets apparently. He comes to Harner and tells him that his daughter is actually alive, and the big reveal is that his daughter turns out to be Nagisa. Nagisa doesn't know that she's Harner's daughter. And so Harner is pretty much in grief right now. He's kind of kneeling down, crying. Lucia Rare Group comes out of nowhere and just stabs Harner in the back. And takes his Sinclair Stone. So Lucia now has 4 Sinclair Stones. And he also revealed his new weapon, the Neo Decalogue Sword. He destroys the Altar of Birth with an explosion from the Neo Decalogue, which has 10 Darkbring attached to it. They all fall, with Haru falling into a crevice while Belnica and Ellie are saved by a dragon. The Green Race saves Haru out of the crevice, and they pretty much all party with the Green Race. Just everyone. Like the whole group and the Green Race. In a flashback scene, Harner tells Yuma not to tell Nagisa that he's her father. And then pretty much Haru and the group return to the human world. So, in the human world, there's this place called the Dahalio Mountains. Sheba meets up with Alpine Spaniel. So Alpine apparently protects the Rave of Truth. 2 shadowy figures join with Sheba and Alpine, and they all wait for Haru to pass the final trial to obtain the Rave of Truth. During this time, Belnica permanently joins the group. Julius and Lazenby stay behind to fight with the resistance. So they all hike up to the Dahalia Mountains, but Belnica has a really hard time keeping up. They eventually enter a cave, and Haru finds a clue that Sheba has been through the cave. And that's pretty much the end of Volume 28. Volume 29. They navigate through the cave and find the resting place of the Knights of the Blue Sky. A gravekeeper in the form of a leopard appears before the group, and he tells them that the entrance to the Rave of Truth is also there. Right by this grave, pretty much. But Haru must face a final trial and just go to where the Rave of Truth is alone. During this time, elsewhere, Shuda is rushing somewhere. Apparently, Splu sneaked in with Haru, and he sees Sheba, Alice, the guy who makes all the potions, and Musica, the other Musica, the blacksmith, waiting for him. Haru then meets Alpine Spaniel. Sheba has a Rave of Truth in his hand, and it shines, but when he gives it to Haru, the light vanishes. The Rave of Truth is saying that it recognizes Shiba as the true Rave Master. And Shiba declares that Haru must defeat him in order to be the true Rave Master. Blacksmith Mizuka gives Shiba a sword, and Shiba drinks something that turns him into the young sword saint. Um, Haru and Shiba fight, and Shiba just totally gets the better of him. It's a cool fight, but Shiba's just much better than Haru. Ellie's waiting, like where the grave is, but you know she can't. She's losing her patience, so she just runs to where Haru is. While the others wait around for Haru, they are attacked by Mystic Realm insects led by Burial. So as Shiba and Haru fight, the Rave of Truth falls from the pocket of Alpine Spaniel when Blacksmith Mizuka kind of like confronts him and whatnot, because they're fighting. They're pretty much fighting to the death, or Shiba is at least. Um, so Shiba's kind of reveals that like Haru's not fighting for anything that Shiba isn't. Haru then kind of questions what he's fighting for, and then he finds out that he's fighting for Ellie, and then he starts to get the better of Shiba. And then in the fight, Haru breaks Shiba's sword and defeats him. The Rave of Truth then accepts Haru, and Shiba reveals that the potion he drank grants youth for lifespan, so Shiba is pretty much dying. Ellie comes into the room and Shiba sees her thinking that she's Russia Valentine. Because Shiba and Russia Valentine, you know, Shiba totally loved Russia Valentine. He gets up as Ellie starts to cry, and he asks to hold her just once, and she does. Shiba then mentions something to Ellie about Russia's crime, and then Shiba dies in Ellie's arms. It's a really great scene, real touching scene, actually. I thought that was really well done. So as this is happening, the others fight Burial and his Mystic Realm insects. Haru emerges from the cave entrance with a dead Shiba in his arms. Older Shiba, not younger Shiba. Haru just instantly defeats Burial and most of his minions, as he wants to bury Shiba's body. The rest of the insects retreat. They bury Shiba after that. And then they have a conference with Alpine Spaniel, who then reveals this big thing about this history of the world. So it's pretty much that. He tells them that mankind committed a crime against time itself. And so he tells them that the history of the world he tells them about the history of the world and that the world was on the brink of extinction. There was only one person left in the world, and that person reached star memory and turned back time. That then created a parallel world. So apparently there's a world that is totally extinct on one time frame, plane of time, and then on a parallel plane of time is their world. But a power to restore history is born, and that was Endless. So Endless's purpose is to annihilate their like rewritten history. So that's kind of like one of the big reveals of like Rave Master, pretty much. So back in Mildian, Shuda is rushing to find Sieghart. He finds that all the townspeople are defeated, and he finds Nebel, and he rides with him to find, or Nebel rides with Shuda to find Sieg. Sieghart and Licia are confronting each other in Mildian Heart, and at the end of the volume, Endless is shown looking at Mildian from some nearby mountains. So in volume 30, Shuda finds Sieghart and tells him that the Mother Darkbrings should not be together. Lucia does not know this. Lucia then becomes curious about this. Lucia then brings out his 4 Mother Darkbrings together. He kind of just puts them on the ground together. And Sieghart starts to cough blood. The last Mother Darkbring comes out of Sieg's own body and joins with the other Mother Darkbring. Endless then appears, but in a totally different color, the color of a Darkring. And the monster Endless merges with the 5 Mother Darkring to become the dimension-destroying Darkring Endless. So, it's revealed that Endless is really a Darkring, but not just a Darkring, the ultimate Darkring. Um, so, but Haru has the 5 Rave Stones, so Saga tells them that with the 5 Rave Stones together, it is time to restore Ellie's memories so that she can use Ethereum to bring Rave into a single piece. Saga tells them that they must return to Symphonia and to Resh's grave. Before they head out, though, that night, Haru and Ellie pretty much have a moment alone together while everyone is sleeping. It's a cute moment. So, the next morning, Alice gives them some potions. Blacksmith Musica gives the younger Musica a book. We don't know the contents of the book yet. And then an airship from Mildian picks them up. Apparently, Burial's familiar, Boy Boy, attaches itself to Ruby's hat. So, this airship from Mildian, it's called Air Mildian, has Miltz, Shuda, an injured Sieghart, Nebel, Hild, and some other sorcerers on the airship. So they go to Symphonia, and Shakuma, the world's mightiest sorcerer and Haja's mentor, Haja the Infinite's mentor, he rides a staff. He flies on this staff, chasing after the Air Mildian. So, with the help of multiple sorcerers and Miltz, they use teleportation magic. However, Miltz tells them that teleportation magic causes rifts in time. So, they manage to actually teleport to Symphonia, but it badly weakens all the sorcerers. Apparently, though, Shakuma, all by himself, was able to teleport without his power even being drained. It really shows how powerful Shakuma is. And Shakuma, he uses ancient forbidden magic, like he can summon meteors and this flood that he turns into a tornado and attacks the Air Mildian. Miltz comes up with a plan for Haru and Ellie to go to the grave alone and unseen while the rest fight against Shakuma. So they're pretty much about to jump off the Air Mildian, but then Ellie's memories slowly start to come back and causes her to faint and fall off the ship. Haru jumps down as well to try and save her. So as they're falling, Sieghart flies out and rescues them. He then joins them to Resh's grave. So, if you remember from volumes back, there's this skeleton that, like, just kind of sits in front of, like, Resh's grave. So, the skeleton from before lifts the ward on Resh's gravesite, and he wears the same pendant as Ellie. However, the skeleton comes out, but not Resh's grave, along with the trees or the path that was like behind the skeleton, the sitting skeleton. Ellie asks Haru to give her all the rave stones, and she takes them and kneels at a certain spot. She then puts them down, and they get transported somewhere. So Plu, Ellie, and Plu's with them, by the way. Plu, Ellie, and Sieghart are together in this like place, but are separated from Haru. Haru ends up in the middle of a battle and saves one of the soldiers, who turns out to be a young Shiba. And then Sieghart finds out and calculates that they are 52 years in the past in Symphonia. And then Sieg reveals that they went back to that era through a rift in time. Haru also realizes that he's in the past. So he's talking to Shiba, and then Shiba kind of goes out, but then he suddenly vanishes. The scenery changes, and Sieg tells Ellie that they've moved through time due to the rift trying to heal itself. So they're actually moving faster than time is going because the rift is trying to heal itself. Sieg explains to Heli about like time paradox and chaos theory. So he wants them to do pretty much as little as possible while they're at that time. However, he looks for Haru because he figures that Haru doesn't know all about that stuff. Haru enters Symphonia Kingdom. A group of 3 people from the Rare Groove Kingdom come to Symphonia Kingdom to try to kill Russia Valentine. We are introduced to the king, Malachi Symphonia Glory the Fifth, and then the Knights of the Blue Sky in the castle discuss about the stranger lurking about the castle. If you remember in past books, that was actually Sheba, if I'm not mistaken, was also lurking around the castle, trying to get into Rush's room, and climbing the walls and stuff. Turns out that Haru is climbing the walls of the castle. So, in the present, the leopard guy, Ropin, his name's Ropin, recalls how he faced assassins who were climbing the castle walls. Then, back in the past, Ropin, is it Ropin? I'll say Ropin, from the Royal Knights Alpine Squad, is introduced as a human who dressed up in leopard print armor on his first day as a Royal Knight. So he got like resurrected as a leopard. Haru then spots the group of people from the Rare Group Kingdom spying on the castle and hears of their plan to assassinate Resha. Haru tries to stop them, but is discovered by Ropin, who is on guard duty. Haru is then mistaken for an enemy by the Symphonia soldiers, who shoot arrows at him when it looks like he's after Resha. Resha also takes out this crossbow to try and like shoot at him too. Haru escapes, and then Sieghart catches up to Haru, but time moved forward by 10 days. Sieg reveals that a disturbance in time happened, and it was due to Haru's meddling. He tells Haru not to change anything in this era. Says this is happening, I think it's like the next day. Resha prays at a church, but inside were the 3 guys from the Rare Groove Kingdom, and they abduct her. Sieg realizes that the disturbance happened because the Leopard Knight was actually supposed to capture those assassins that were after Russia, but with Haru's meddling, that didn't happen, so history is changing. Ellie is kind of sitting just on this like path with Plu, and is seen by some villagers and is dragged by them into Ellie Village, Russia's hometown. So get an idea of like where the name Ellie came from. Ellie is then told to change because she has to dance. Deerhound, like the king, Malachi, is going to this village, and Deerhound is pretty much guarding him, and he's told that Russia has been kidnapped. Russia is tied up in a carriage driven by the kidnappers, but Ellie is able to recall what just happened to Russia. Sieg questions how Russia's freshly made memories could be in Ellie's memories. So, in the end of the volume, Haru uses Sulfurion to try to catch up to the kidnappers, but only has 3 hours. So, some notes here. Hardner, in the very end, is yet another tragic villain to the story. I think Julius said it best in her battle against Lucan, that it's not his own power that was strong, but the power of the Dark Ring. And I personally thought that was the biggest problem with the Six Guard, as they themselves weren't that powerful, save for Leopard, who's really fast. But their Dark Rings were just a bit too powerful, That's why I never liked this comparison with Six Guard and Duration 6, because some of the members of Duration 6 didn't necessarily need the Dark Ring to make them powerful. Like, Reina could like was a silver claimer regardless of her dark ring. Julius on the other end can freeze stuff, but he looks like a swordsman, you know. Burial doesn't necessarily need to use his Earth Dark Ring. Jagan was pretty strong even without his Dark Ring. Haunted the Infinite, he had the Type 66 Dark Ring, but he was always a sorcerer, you know. Deep Snow had the Type 66 Dark Ring, that kind of made him strong. Shuda is also a swordsman. His Dark Ring does make him strong as well, though. But yeah, that was the thing with the I had with Six Guard. The other thing that's also unfortunate was that they didn't show any of Lady Lunar fighting. Um, it's pretty much that Julius and the rest are just down and defeated, and he's saying how powerful she is, but you don't actually get to see her fighting at all. Um, Lucia Raregroove shows that for all his big talk, he's pretty cowardly. I mean, you gotta think that he once again stabbed someone in the back. He did it to Shuda, and now he did it to Hardner. He was also fighting Haru when, after he's Sekafar, and he couldn't use his right arm. So Lucia's pretty cowardly. It was an interesting twist that Nagisa was really Hardner's daughter, and something of the ultimate punishment for what Hardner ordered his men to do to Nagisa. It's just kind of Hardner's just he ordered them to interrogate Nagisa to find Yuma's hideout and whatnot, and it turns out this whole time that she was tortured, and it turned out this whole time that that was Hardner's daughter getting tortured, and Hardner ordered it to happen. So he, in a sense, got the ultimate punishment at the very end. I mean, he turned out to be a good guy after everything was said and done, and then he just kind of exits stage left. Um, it's kind of like most of the villains we've seen up till now. Um, like Pumpkin Doryu, now Hardner. You know, he turned out to be a sympathetic villain, which is good. I always like sympathetic villains. Very hard guy to actually like. um, but it, at the very end, I think he actually survives too. Um, it looks like they're definitely going with some different themes here. Stereotyping, some sort of racial themes with the whole mystic realm people into humans. They did it with Doryu. They're doing it here. It's a good thing. It's always nice to see different themes worked on and whatnot. I like the battle between Shiba and Haru. It's always nice that Haru doesn't always just get the better of guys. It's cool seeing Shiba just totally get the better of Haru and show how powerful he was when he was younger. Really sad moment to see Shiba die. And the creator did a good job with that whole scene. I was particularly sad. I know the creator, he also wrote some notes about that scene. I thought it was just really well done. So we're also really starting to get into the whole time continuum, time paradox, time traveling stuff. It really goes. The series, manga series, it's definitely going in a lot of different directions. It was you got the fantasy stuff going on. You got something of a underworld thing going on in a sense. And then you got now time traveling as well. I mean, they always talked about time with Sieghart and Mildian and whatnot. So I guess this was something that's supposed to be expected. Well, I don't know about expected, but something that at least fits in with the story because they always talk about time anyways. So they revealed the whole parallel world thing. I mean, it's a plot device. I can't help but feel that, as a reader, it's kind of a moot point to me. It's like, oh, okay, like I don't like any character more or less because they live in a parallel world, and the protagonists don't seem to really care too much about it. It's just kind of like, okay, we'll just do our thing. But it's a plot device that gave reason for the villains to. It gave them something of a justification for what they're doing. So it's like there's a really big deal to the major villains apparently, but like to the protagonist and to the reader, it's like I don't know if it's really that big of a deal. But the villains, yeah, it's some huge thing, you know. I like the twist that Endless was actually the ultimate Dark Bring. I was a bit curious to see how they're gonna deal with Endless, this monster that can never really be stopped. And turns out he was a Dark Bring. Like the ultimate Dark Bring. I really like Shakma as a villain. I mean, they really emphasize how powerful he is, and because of that, he appears like this huge threat to Haru and the group. It's kind of like I can't help but feel that like the Air Million and the people that are fighting Shakma are in some real danger here. As Haru, Ellie, Plu, and Seacart are doing their own thing. And we're finally getting into Ellie's past. They're giving us something of hints as to who she is and whatnot and what's going on. But how that all comes together is still a mystery. Time traveling, I mean, it's something of an important way to move the plot along. As outside of like one big flashback, there's no way that they could show Ellie's past in a really like interesting way that I could personally think of. Maybe they could have done something different, but like time traveling was the way of like moving the plot along, showing Ellie's past, which is a really big thing. Still getting the action in there. So this part of the story where they're back in time will continue, and we're kind of just, you know, it's like, do we really expect Russia Valentine to get assassinated? It's really just about finding out about Ellie's past and just reaching that point and seeing how everything comes together. So that's really the interest of this whole storyline at this point. So that's it for this manga review for Rave Master, volumes 26 through 30. Please join me when I do the final manga review of Rave Master, volumes 31 through 35. Um, the next manga reviews I will be doing will be for one of my favorite series, Basara. If you haven't read it, I would greatly advise you to read it. And also, as far as reading stuff, check out some of my works. You can check out my first novel, an action adventure fantasy called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99 on my author's website on PDF. Or if you have an e-reader, you can check it out on Amazon.com. That story is greatly influenced and inspired by various anime. It's pretty much like an anime in book format for U.S. audiences. And then you can also check my short stories for just $1.99, such as The Land of the Wooden Statues, my horror collection, or my fantasy fable collection. So, also just follow me on Twitter and like my author's page on Facebook, and links to all of these will be provided on the description. So, that's pretty much it for this manga review. Thank you guys for listening to this, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys very much.